Let's get started in our gentle yoga practice. As you can see, I do have a couple yoga blocks and a yoga strap handy. You'll get an opportunity to use those. If you don't have a yoga strap, you can use a towel or a t-shirt or a belt. Those can all work. All right, so let's get started. We're going to sit in the center of our mat. Some of the most classic gentle yoga just starts in a nice, easy position here. Just doing a little breath work, just kind of grounding after a busy day. Okay, so get nice and comfortable. If you want to sit on a blanket like I am or a block, let's just sit for a brief moment here. Closing our eyes, it's just a brief meditation to start practice this evening. So tonight, to start practicing gentle yoga, we're going to ground in center, doing a little breath work, awareness. And then we're going to work into just some kind of seated free movement, just like we would in a normal yoga class, kind of get warmed up with a little bit of movement. And then we'll come into a couple of nice stretches. So let's root our sit bones down and lift the crown of our head up. Roll our shoulders back and down, maybe shake them out a little bit here. Start to connect to your breath, maybe closing the eyes. Remember, I like to suggest trying to keep your mouth closed during breathing. So your lips stay sealed, and the tongue actually lifts up to the top of the mouth here. So the tongue is not hanging low into the mouth cavity. The tongue is lightly upward against the top of the mouth. Starting to take nice, deep, slow inhales in the nose and slow, deep exhales out the nose. So the first maybe 10 minutes here with all this free movement, I do want to suggest making it personal. It doesn't have to be exactly what I say. You know, our idea is to kind of move our body a lot, just to feel it out, you know, to connect, loosen up, okay? So sitting in this position here, if you're comfortable with it, hands can go on the floor if you'd like. I'm just gonna start to kind of rock side to side a little bit. Remember guys, this is gentle yoga. So I think the name implies we're working on being nice and easy in the body here. So I'm just starting to kind of move a little side to side. You know, I could do it kind of, you know, a little bit more like this. I could start to get a little bit more fluid. I could start to lift an arm if that feels good. You know, in yoga, we have this style called vinyasa, and it's a dance. And usually vinyasa is not really taught as a gentle form, but that's what I'm in a sense doing. Vinyasa is usually described as breathing and moving, transitioning in a very kind of skillful and special way. So I'm going to start to even go further here. Look at this. I'm going to start to bring my chest a little forward, back, up. And now I'm going in a big circle here with my chest. Now, it can be nice and small here, right? Because it is gentle. It could be this. Or I'm going to switch directions now. You can start to get a little bit bigger here. I'm starting to really lean into my flexibility a little bit more. So our goal is to just start to make a little bit more of a circular motion with our core. Okay, if you want to sit up the crosses of your legs, we're not really moving the core, the legs just yet. That's going to be next here, guys. So a nice little circle here. I am using a little bit of strength. I'm not just kind of letting the body get too heavy or lazy. Don't forget to make sure you're leaning back, just like I would want you to lean to the sides and forward. So you always want to make sure you're going both ways, just kind of listening to your body here. All right, so that's our first little movements there. Next movement here, we're going to bring our feet wide if you want to shake your legs out for a moment. Notice my hands are going to stay behind me. I'm going to bend my knees and bring my feet wide. And now I'm going to kind of let my knees knock to the side as I reach my right arm over to outside my left knee, okay? Inhale back to center, and I'm going to go over to the right, twisting over to the right. So notice both of my knees went over to the right. and my hands are over on the right as well, okay? Now it's a little dance side to side here, yogis, okay? I'm not necessarily, moving at any certain pace. I'm not necessarily moving. I could pause if that feels good, right? I could even get a little bit more into this by kind of bending my elbows over on the side. So from the side, as my knees knock left, my hands go behind me. I can even bend my elbows a little bit. It's like a way to get almost into like a chaturanga arm movement. The goal is to move our bodies a lot, okay? In a nice gentle way. We're on the floor. So it's knees knocking left, knees knocking right. As my knees knock left, my chest turns left. As my knees knock right, my chest turns right. And you're trying to get into this a little bit, a good maybe 20 to 40 rounds side to side. Last few here. Okay, yogis. Now, next thing here, guys, we're going to come back to center. See if you can kind of lean back. See how I'm putting weight into my hands here? Not easy. I have to kind of turn my hands forward, bend my elbows. And now, this could be a little strenuous. So if it's too much, just lay on your back. You're going to bend your knees, lift your feet, and you're just going to start to kind of bend and straighten your knees here. I got weight in my core. I'm lifting my chest. I got weight in my legs. And I'm just kind of straightening and bending my knees. Notice it's not really like the thighs moving, it's more of the knees, okay? So I'm straightening at the knee, engaging that thigh, flexing that foot. Last few. It's a little bit of a weird one. All right, sit up. That's gonna put a little strain in the core. Shake your legs out. It's always good to kind of rub your legs a little bit, give them a little kind of smack here. It's really good for you there. Next movement, I do want you to go easy, right? Feet are going to go forward, your knees can bend. And instead of just reaching to touch our toes today, I'd like to just kind of nice and slow round the spine a little bit, lift the chest, arch back a little bit. So I think of it like a little cat-cow. It's kind of like I do in vinyasa, where I reach for the toes and I half lift, right? So I'm going to hinge forward a little bit, and I'm going to lift up. So I'm not necessarily kind of holding the stretch just yet. I'm hinging, coming back up. Hinging, spine might round a little bit. Up, maybe even arch the back, bend the knees a little bit. So legs go a little bit maybe more straight, which will cause the spine to round, kind of like our cat posture. And then as I inhale, lift the chest, I might bend my knees to get a little bit of an arch like my cat-cow. Some people might want to take their hands on their thighs, okay? And as I go forward, I press my heels down. And as I inhale, I kind of grip the hands on the thigh below the knee and lift that chest. So it's a way we're doing seated cat-cow, yogis. You're inhaling up, exhaling down. Last few. So I'm just not having you stretch just yet, okay? We're kind of moving a little bit. And I'm going to move right to our next movement, okay? So my feet are going to go wide here, flexing my feet. And it's kind of like our first movement. Remember how I started side to side? Maybe it'll feel good to kind of reach for the opposite knee. So I just showed you one. It's a side movement. Then it's kind of like a little twisty movement. Maybe you want to go up and down, forward and back a little bit. Remember, yogis, it's important that we have often a movement-focused practice. All right, as opposed to just stretching and being tight. I'm starting to get a little bit more fluid here. Do you see this? More circular, like the initial kind of movement eventually became. I'm getting into this movement now. Gentle yoga, just moving in our body. Doesn't have to be big. Doesn't have to be anything in particular. I am now keeping the spine a little bit longer. I'm going a little bit over the legs. Notice my knees do bend a little too, right? I don't need to keep them straight. We're not trying to, you know, do anything exactly in a certain way right now. Okay? So last part here, guys. Now I want to just lean back and get into my hands. Now watch those feet. I'm going to point the toes and flex the feet. Point the toe, flex the feet. Point those toes, flex the feet. And now we're bringing a lot of awareness into our feet. Point the toe, flex the feet. So I want to move those ankles. See how I really point my foot and then I pull back the feet. So opposite actions, flex the feet, point the toe. Flex the feet, point the toe. Last few. So it is a very active movement on the ankles. You know, you can feel this one a lot in your toes, you know, in the arches of your feet, your ankles. So now I'm just going to roll my ankles. Do you see this? I'm rolling those ankles. Last few here, please. And I'm going the opposite direction now, reversing the circle. So if you see from this angle, right, big circles, see how the toes point in, that is a rotation for the thigh as well. Turn out, you're externally, internally rotating as I now point those toes, flex those feet. And then look at this, I'm just going to shake it out. Yeah, our legs are bearing the weight all day. I want to move them around a little bit more freely than we normally do, okay? Nice job there with your seated stuff. Let's swing our legs around. Come to our tabletop position. So eventually, let's meet here, no rush. Kind of, I'm a little ahead of you as the instructor, right? So you can just kind of catch up when you're ready. Shoulders over wrist, hips over knees, nice inhale. Arches my back, cat-cow, exhale round. Inhale, arch, exhale round. So we're taking the cat-cow a little bit more right down the middle, giving that spinal column and posterior anterior pelvic tilt working. I do want to lift the neck a little bit on that inhale, tuck it on the exhale, kind of pinching the chin to the chest. And I'm going to bring you right into a more meditative stretch now. Thread the needle. So I'm in tabletop, nice inhale. I might widen my knees a tiny bit. Right arm's going to go up. And let's do it here. Right arm underneath, head comes down. Try to get comfortable here, yogis. Relax a little bit. You might have to adjust your hips, your right shoulder, or your left arm. Try to find that spot where you can kind of just be in the pose and breathe a little bit. Slow, deep inhale in your nose. And a slow, deep exhale. At your pace, let's push through our left hand. Maybe inhale the right arm all the way up. I like to add this little kind of like pulsing open. It is a very active approach, but it is a nice back strengthener, okay? We'll bring that right hand down. Maybe you want to shake your hips out a little bit before, you know, in gentle yoga, there's a little bit extra of that kind of just like shaking it out, feeling out your body, right? Eventually, your pace will inhale that left arm up. This is a fantastic little inversion, so increases blood flow in the side of the brain. There's some neck stretch here, big shoulder stretch. Now again, I do kind of adjust a little bit, my shoulders, my hips, my knees. And I relax here, yogis. Close your eyes. A good minute here today. All right, please take your time, okay? Plant your right hand, inhale your left arm out and up. And then take your time, bring it down. And for a moment, let's just sit right back on those heels if you can. And just sticking with movement a little bit here. See how I just kind of roll out my wrists? If you can't sit on your ankles like I am, my feet, my big toes are touching, my heels are right under my hips. I want to compress those ankles. So you see this nice little roll of our wrists? You're going to get some cracks and pops. I can wiggle my fingers a little bit. Then I can straighten and bend my elbow. They call this like a bicep curl, right? If I had a little weight, I pull the hand toward the shoulder and then I drop it down. So it's a nice little way to strengthen our elbow, open it up. So we're trying to sit on the ankles. That can be quite difficult for a lot of us. So watch me here. Arms down, just lift your shoulders up and down. Trying to stay on those ankles. If you can, I get it. You can kind of sit on your butt at this point. That's okay. Okay. And then watch the arms. Nice inhale, arms go up. Palms together. Exhale, arms down. Palms face the body. Inhale, arms, palms face up and then toward each other. Exhale, arms down. Last few here on those ankles. So a little wrist, little elbow, little shoulder. Okay. It's kind of like you would do in sometimes a sun salutation or a jumping jack. It's called abduction. There's also a lot of rotation there. All right, guys, get off of those ankles. I know that can be pretty tough. We loosened up your shoulders, your elbows, your wrists a little bit. Shake out your feet. Let's do a brief downward dog, please. Spread the fingers, tuck your toes. We'll lift those hips up and back. Just a few breaths. I'm using this to get into your calves a little bit, more of the back of the hamstring. I'm kind of pedaling my feet out. So as my right heel lifts, I press the inner left heel down. And then I do a little switch. After a few each side, I kind of lift both heels and press the heels down. Again, we're back in those feet, but now with a little bit of weight on them, right? All right, guys, let's go here. Let's bring it down to the knees, and this is where you're going to need your block. So we're going to like push it a tiny bit tonight. I want to do a gentle lunge. So you're going to want your blocks maybe out in the front of your mat. My hands are on my blocks. Right foot's going to come forward. So now I'm in this lunge position. I'm going to crawl my left knee back a little bit. My front knee is over my front heel, okay? I'm framing the foot. I'm going to nice inhale, so to lift my chest as my hips descend a little bit down and forward. My chest starts to lift up more. I want that right hip to pull back a little bit, okay? Press those feet down. Lift the navel, the chest high. See if you can roll your shoulders back and down. If you wanted to reach your arms to the sky, or if you wanted to do your arms behind you, you know that's fine with me. We will do a big shoulder stretch coming up in just a few moments. Just so you're aware, it's not necessary right now, all right? You'll get that chance. Last couple breaths. It's just like a runner's lunge, right? We're doing a lunge with our back knee down, a little bit more flexibility focused. I start to press through my hands, lifting my hips up and back, maybe walk my hands a little closer to my body, and then boom, right leg goes back. Option here, if you're up for it, little lift in the heart chest, just kind of stand up for a moment. Think of this like a way we do a vinyasa. I just kind of lift my heart and my chest, hands on my hips. In yoga, we call it like a camel posture. I don't want to arch my back here. I do want my hips to stand on my shoulders, if anything, a little bit forward. So I lift my chest. And then I drop my butt to my heels, take a quick child pose. Couple options for child pose. I'll give a little different variation. I'll bring my knees together, my feet together, forehead on the mat, arms down by side, palms up. Second side, doing our lunge. No rush, rising up. Left foot in between the blocks, hands. Right foot crawls the knee back a little bit. As I work on just sending my hips a little forward and down, pressing my feet down, I press my hands down to help lift my chest up a little bit. I'll squeeze my pelvic floor, press my feet down, particularly the big toe here, and I lift the navel in and up as the shoulders roll down and back. A few breaths here, please. Please take your time, all right? Think of it like a lunge, crawling your left foot back, hands back, left knee back. Maybe rising up here, hands on the hips, shoulders roll back and down. You could go bigger here, fingers face up on your glutes. Just try to watch out for the back arch. Try to bring your hips a little bit more forward, your chest a little bit up, chin a little bit up. Big inhale. Please go slow. Child posture. Maybe knees together today, a little different. Forehead on the mat, arms down by side, palms up. Big inhale. Take your time. Rise up, down to your chest. A little option here, I won't instruct it, but if you want to throw in a couple of gentle push-ups, always good to be consistently building your upper body strength. So you know I like to work these in sometimes. Notice I'm not letting my hips get down. I'm shifting my chest forward as those elbows bend an inch, a 2 inch, a 3 inch. Some of us might be able to go a little lower. It's a good way to start some push-ups, building upper body strength. If push-ups are a little much, you could always come down to your forearms and work just a short variation of a forearm plank hold. I like to kind of work in gentle variations of stronger exercises in this class. All right, yogis, let's lay on our chest here. We're gonna meet on the chest, no rush if you're working on your push-ups, your plank. I'm taking a moment to kind of windshield wipe. I am going to ask for some active cobras today. So let's work a couple extensions, one rotational, then we're going to stretch out those hamstrings, all right, with our strap. Right arm's going to reach out. I'm going to go right here. I'm going to tighten it up after, but first let's stretch. Right arm out to the right, push through your left hand. Just a few breaths this evening, rolling toward my right side. My left leg might reach behind me. I rest my head down. Try to relax your left arm, your head, your shoulders. Remember our directional breathing. So in this stretch, your right arm is being pulled back in space behind you more, and you're breathing into that upper right quadrant initially of the chest, the back. But there can be much more stretch here across the abdomen, down across the front left hip. In essence, your front left hip is kind of being pulled long away from that upper right shoulder. So you can find this stretch can have a lot of different effects depending on how you approach it and where you're tight and how you breathe. So remember to try to use the breath as a tool, not just the pose, but also not just the movement, if it's a movement, but also the breath is such a powerful tool in your wellness tool belt. Okay, let's come back to our chest. Don't forget that you're always welcome to bend your arm to make it a little bit more. Left arm out, push to your right, and that right arm creates a push, but also some support. Make sure the arm is out to the side, so we're stretching our what's called pec major muscle, big front chest muscle. Deep breathing. Remember, yogis, I want to encourage nasal breathing. Please, no mouth breathing, nasal breathing. Mouth is closed, tongue at the top of the mouth. Your tongue should feel like you should fill up the whole mouth cavity. There shouldn't be space between the top of your tongue and the roof of your mouth. So most likely a lot of us are going to get a slight arch in our back, a slight twist there. All right, so really quite a complex position in the body, depending on how far you go and the variation you take there. So when you're done, no rush, that side might have been a little short here. You're going to roll to your chest and take a moment to kind of windshield wipe. Maybe bend and straighten the knees or flop your feet a little side to side, okay? Now we're going to go back to a little bit more of a strengthening, activating posture. Active or gentle cobra. Eventually, feet about hips width distance, top of the feet turned down. I want you to actively point your toes, press your feet down a little bit, engage your thighs so much and press your feet down in a way where your knees almost cover. Slide your hands near your lower ribs. On inhale, pull the belly in, press your pubic bone down, lift your chest. Notice I'm not really using my hands. They are more there just for a little bit of psychological support. My shoulders roll back and down, my neck lengthens. Big inhale, and exhale, slowly lower down. Try not to lower down all the way, only about 80–90%. And then inhale again, point your toes, engage your thighs, press your feet, pubic bone down, lift your chest, pull the navel in a little bit. And we're gonna do a few more like this, yogis. We're gonna lower down, lift up, pause. Lower down. Try to do about 3 more on your own here. Ideally, you close your eyes, right? You want to remember that the eyes can kind of often be distracting. So if we close our eyes, we tend to acquire different layers of awareness. So going nice and slow, you do about, on your own, 6 to 9 reps. You're gonna feel that back really turn on, right? That's what we want, active movement. So it's your back muscles and your legs connecting to the activated back. So legs are activating, like I mentioned, the feet were involved, the thighs, the hips, and then the back all connecting, okay? Take a moment, lower down. If you want to do a big cobra stretch or a quick sphinx, I will leave that up to you. I will skip that for now. So I'm just taking a little bit of a movement just to release, okay? When you're done there, please press through your hands. We're gonna come back to table. If you want a quick child pose after those big postures, I totally understand. Anytime you kind of need to neutralize and calm and center, child pose, good place. Unless you have very acute back pain, that might not be the recommendation at that point. All right, guys, I'll keep moving forward here. We're gonna swing our legs around. Seated position, please. And we're gonna use our strap tonight. If you don't have a strap, you can just pull on your ankles or use a t-shirt, towel, sweatpants, belt, anything around the house can work here. I'm gonna take that strap around the ball of the feet. Now notice, I'm not gonna round forward. I'm gonna put it around the padding of the foot, not the arch. So I'm gonna use my strap. I'm even gonna like wrap it around my hands a little bit. And I'm gonna pull that strap and notice what I'm gonna do here. Let me show you from the side now. The strap is gonna go around the padding of my foot. My feet are, touching there. And I'm gonna use my strap to engage my legs and pull my chest up forward more. I'm not necessarily gonna go forward too much right now, okay? I'm gonna use that strap to pull and lift my chest to sit up taller. Couple breaths here. So what I'm trying to do is keep my legs more straight, my back more straight. Right? It's called Dandasana in yoga, as opposed to Paschimottanasana, where we actually reach for the toes. All right? I'm using a pull, where the pull becomes the object of the stretch. Pull my elbows in like a reverse chaturanga. Okay? Getting a little pull strength on tonight. It's good for you. Okay? Slowly release. Maybe lean back. Shake it out, please. Now what I'm going to do is bring my right foot in on the inner thigh. If you want to throw a block or a bolster, it's always good, especially if you have trouble sitting up or you're not very flexible. It is very nice here to put the outer thigh shin on the block. Now we'll take our strap, please, around the mound of the left foot. I want you to do the exact same thing. I'm not going to really stretch far yet. It's just a little subtle difference, okay? I'm going to maybe even wrap my hands around the strap a little more. I'm going to use that arm to, I am actually kind of with my foot pressing into my strap a little too. So if I wasn't clear, it's all kind of quite active. All right, so I am flexing the foot, but kind of a little pressure back into the strap, okay? I'm pulling and lifting my chest. Shoulders back and down, elbows hug in, and pull your elbows back. So a little back strength tonight. Try to sit up and lengthen through the side bodies equally. Notice my left foot is directly out in front of me. Pulling my chest, my sternum kind of toward my big toe. All right, so if my feet were together, both big toes would be that sternum. Notice my shoulders are pretty low and back. Big inhale, please. Slowly soften. Let's switch sides. Right leg goes forward. All right, if you're just joining, we are doing a strap stretch here. So I'm going to take my right foot forward and my block under my left thigh. Okay, so a little bit different tonight with the strap around the mound of the foot. Instead of really forward folding a lot here, with the strap around the pad of my foot, I'm pressing into that strap a little bit, pulling the elbows. Now think of chaturanga where we do a push-up, elbows in forward. I want the elbows in, shoulders back and down, and I'm pulling that foot, but kind of kicking back into it to protect the arch a little bit. I'm rooting my sit bones down, lengthening through the leg, pressing the outer edge of my left shin down, and I'm here. Okay, couple breaths. Now again, from the side, remember that I'm not trying to go like this. I'm working on an anterior tilt, sitting up tall. and pulling my chest straight toward the foot. You know, gentle stretching, right? We're not going like hyper range. It's a little bit more of like an active pull approach. So again, we are on the second leg here. We just did double leg like this, okay? See how my back is up tall? In essence, that's more what we're practicing right now, is a really tall spine and using my arms to pull and lift the chest. Okay, you are still should be getting some minor stretches depending on your level of flexibility and the activeness of your form. All right, so again, maybe not necessarily a huge stretch. All right, yogis. So let's shake that out. There's 3 strap stretches. I want to do one more. Now, this one's a little different, so you got to kind of pay attention a little bit. You're going to need your strap if you want to try it. If you don't, no worries. You can do an easy version. We're going to go back to our first side here. And now watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the loop of my strap, put it around my foot, and then I'm going to wrap this strap around down the outside of my left leg. See that? And I'm going to reach my right arm around. So I'm going to kind of turn open to the right a little bit. So I'm not facing my left leg anymore. So I'm kind of like this a little bit more, okay? My arm takes my strap around me. Look at that right arm. There's a shoulder stretch too. Did a lot of warm up for this. We already did a couple big shoulder stretches if you're just joining. The right hand goes around the back, and now my right hand has the strap behind me. See that one? And I'm kind of walking my hand, you see that? Down. Now this is like a multi-loop strap, so it's a little different than maybe the ones you guys are using. It's a nice one though here. Now my left hand might go on my outer right thigh, okay? I'm gonna work on rooting my sit bones down, sitting up nice and tall, and I'm gonna twist to the right. Nice deep breathing. I'm not overstretching, right? Just feeling a nice twist, getting my breath going. So we're using this as an assisted twist. Again, it can help us sit up a little taller because that arm is around the back. You see that? Get out of there slowly, please. Right hand releases. In the beginning, if you missed the beginning, you get all these seated, nice movements. We already did our big hip flexor stretch. We already did a couple hip flexor stretches and glute stretches. Now we're going big hamstring. So you can turn your right foot out, open a little bit. So the first one, we had the leg really forward, and we were going forward. Now we're kind of actually lifting up again, but twisting away from that leg. So you're getting this, okay? Strap goes around mound of right foot. Right hand takes strap around the back, and the left hand attempts to get the strap. You see that? All right, now, again, I want the strap around the mound of the foot as opposed to being in the arch. So this back hand, the left, is trying to get down that strap a little. See how I got it here? Right hand goes outside left thigh. I sit up. I try to find a nice little sweet spot. I adjust a little bit. And then I'm just going to meditate here. I'm not going to overforce it. In yoga, a lot we do without a strap, right? See how my left hand is just around? That's another way to do it. Even just bringing your arm like that, you are going to get a subtle release. It's just a little softer way of doing it. If you're not going to or don't have a strap, no worries. Even these soft variations are really beneficial as well. All right. You know, a lot of times we're not doing strenuous exercise and it's creating our body structure, like just say being here. It's going to create a lot of body structure. There's no like weight or resistance. As long as we're look at that arm behind us, it's kind of maybe helping that overarm forward position. Okay. All right, guys, get out of there. Nice job. That was quite a few strap stretches. I just want you to shake it out for a moment. See how I kind of stomp? If you missed the beginning, we did these ankle rolls and pointing flexes. Okay, we did some dancing with the spine and hips. All right, so we are going to make our way up to standing. I'm not going to do anything fancy. If you wanted to go through a quick yoga squat or something like that, that's fine. I want to instruct that as opposed, just a reminder. So I do want you to stand up for a moment. There's a lot of forward bending, a lot of tension. Our back line was lengthened for so long. So let's come back to just some light things, movement here. Just kind of shake your body out, maybe lift the knees, kind of alternating knee lifts there. In fitness, they have this kind of where you jog and you do high knees, right? And you do that in gentle yoga like this, right? You just kind of drive those knees up. Yeah. So mimicking kind of strong exercise, but in a more healing, kind of easier way, okay? So I do want to do one round of squatting, okay? Just nice and easy and therapeutic. I'm going to widen my feet a little bit. Watch what I do. I'm going to inhale, reach my arms forward. So back to movement, tightening up our flexibility. Now watch me here. I'm going to slowly stand up. Watch my feet lift those heels. Heels down, bend knees, reach arms forward. Straighten legs, arms down, lift chest, look up a little and lift your heels. Calf raise, inhale, squat or chair. Exhale, good posture, and lift the heels. Just one round. In a sense, all that strap around the ball of the foot, right, was pulling the top of the foot towards the shin. So now as we push through our balls of our feet at the top and lift our heels, it's the opposite. The shin is going away from the top of the foot, or the top of the foot's going away from the shin. So it's kind of a contrast effort there. Last few air squats, just kind of moving up and down. You hear people always saying that, if you want to build up your glutes, do squatting. But if you don't really go deep, there's not really going to be much squat glute in a squat like this, right? You're going to have to go a little deeper to really get those glutes to anterior tilt more and the hips to extend more. So kind of if you want it to be a little bit more in your butt, you got to go a little deeper. Now, it's not easy, all right? So a good way to start that is like holding on to a door frame or a wall as you squat. It'll help you go a little deeper, taking a little weight out of those knees if you're not as flexible, okay? Now, let's stand up here, yogis. Now, in the beginning of the class, we did some arm movements, right? We were kind of going like this and this. I'm going to bring it up to the neck here. So stand up tall, just nice and easy. Bring your right ear to your right shoulder. You guys know I like to have you do this stretch kind of regularly. We're not going to be here long. If you want a little extra, just notice, do I round forward? I do want to try to stay upright and tall, okay? Go slow, please. Back to center, left ear, left shoulder. Just a nice light neck stretch. Not too long, not too strong. Okay, coming back to center. If you'd like to give the neck a little circle. Again, I always suggest kind of a small, slow circle, to where you feel a little discomfort and you kind of work into that space in a nice, kind of healthy, cautious way, right? We're not trying to jam the neck through any range of motion for any reason here, okay? The main places I want you to show caution are your lower back arch and your neck. Everywhere else, you can push it really hard and not worry about much. With practice, you can push into your lower back really hard too, and your neck. Right? I'll bear weight on my neck. I do headstand a lot, and you can really work to bearing all your weight on your neck for really extended periods of times with very kind of complex and fancy maneuvers, but that takes a lot of time. Initially, we want to show extra caution with the neck, okay? Take a moment here, little shoulder stretch. Now, we already did this, right? We already did this, right? So I'm just going to do this one again. This is a nice rotational one. So my favorite, you guys know it, you just kind of roll your shoulders back, bind your hands, and just squeeze your upper back together. Take a couple breaths. If it feels good to kind of turn your palms out, intertwining your fingers, kind of lifting the chest against the arms. That's a big stretch, right? Some people I know, I don't feel that one as much. I remember how restricted and tight it used to be, but you can feel that around like your collarbone and up in like your AC joint even, kind of up where that clavicle, your collarbone meets the scapula. Get a lot of tension through there sometimes in that stretch. So be easy, okay? Shake your hands out, roll your wrists, quick wrist stretch. Just grab those fingers with the opposite hand, kind of pull them back to your forearm. A lot of times I like to do this on the chest, but on the tabletop. But it is a nice, like, little bit different approach here. Then we can just do our second side. Just a quick one. We did a little wrist release earlier. And after that, see how I intertwined my fingers? I shook them out for a moment, and then I kind of just give a good wrist roll. So in the beginning, we did do this, right? We did the wiggling, and now we're kind of like bringing the hands together, drawing some circles. So just notice I kind of went side to side. I went up and down a little bit. I actually turned the left palm up, right palm up. So this kind of what we call supination, pronation. So I did forward and back, side to side, rotation, and then all of it. Kind of big circles. So a little subtle difference. If that's confusing, no worries, no big deal. Then I kind of just stretch my fingers for a moment. See that? So I'm just pushing one finger back and then the other. Just kind of get into those fingers a little bit more, okay? All right, guys, let's get into our feet. If you want to shake your legs out. So today, our leg standing stuff is just going to be a little bit different, okay? Now, it's a little bit of like a pivot. What it reminds me of is the multi-part lunging, but done in a different way. I'm going to bend my knees. I can bring my hands on my hips. I can bring my hands here, okay? Now, I want to start with my feet together, okay? Watch what I do. I step my right foot forward, shift some weight, I step it back. I step my foot forward to the angle. Sorry guys, I'm gonna see if I can get you a better view here. So think moving. Watch me if you're new here to this one. Right foot forward, back. Forward to the angle, back. To the right, back. Back to the angle. Watch, back. I even try maybe back across a little bit, center, front across a little bit. See how I'm shifting weight into that pivot leg? Right to the corner, right, back to the corner. Still on the same foot, right to the back across, front across, front. Right, this is a thing we do in like really strong exercise, but done in a very gentle way. And then you can kind of pick it up if you want. I'm still on the same foot. The left foot hasn't moved yet. In a sense, it's like this kind of like almost plyometric work in a gentle way, okay? Shake that foot out. Second side, yogis. Remember, it's gentle. We're just covering some things that are relatively easy. So again, I step forward, left foot, shift weight. Step forward and left. It's kind of like a little lunge. This is all like my motor, so I'm stepping across to the front, forward, forward to the left a little, to the left, back to the left, back, back across, front across. That's a weird one. And then you kind of get into it. We do ones where the arms go too, but we kind of get low on time here, guys. Okay? Last few. See how I do it? You know, I start slow sometimes. You don't get to see like really what's happening. See how I kind of step and I push back. Watch. Weight, push it back. Weight to the side, push that weight back. Weight, push back. Weight, push back. See that? How it's a little bit more active, and it's a shifting of weight to the landing foot, and then immediately I push that weight back to all angles. So if I have to step back, if I have to slip and step back across, across in front. That happens a lot, right? In the kitchen, you go like this. Step across. Sometimes you go like this, or turn around it. So we do a lot of those kind of functional steps. Get out of there, guys. Shake it out. All right, let's do our one balance of the evening. Make it a good one, please. If you want more, let's reach our arms up. Right foot on the inner shin. You know we got to do our tree pose tonight. What's a good yoga class without a tree pose or a balancing on one foot, right? A little extra shoulder strength now. Reach those arms up and let's hold them. Reach up, guys. Breathe. Notice if you're too far on your toes. Maybe you can even lift your toes for a moment. So in a sense, you're more balanced on the three arches of your foot. Second side, please. The idea is to get to where you feel some burn. That's how we're going to signal that body to grow and change and adapt, okay? Arms go up. Let's do our balance. And you know, just like some days in your exercise, you're going to push your strength. Some days you're going to push your endurance. Some days you're going to emphasize movement. Some days you're going to emphasize just kind of release. I have days in the week where I literally go in and I'm like, okay, today's a balance day. And I'll do like 20 types of balance. I will max out the challenge and the complexity of how my body has to stabilize. Right? I do things in all different ways, on all different types of contraptions and resistances. And I want you to think of balance like that. Just like you would like stretching or movement or cardio or strength. Put that as a category as itself. And there's some days I really want you to focus on that more. And that will be, on average, a strengthening variation. Okay? It's not going to be like a phasic strength where you're really going to fatigue from it, but it's really good for you. All right, guys, get to the top of your mat. Shake your legs out. How about we reach for our toes? Maybe inhale your arms high. You know, I like to suggest bending the knees. Okay, so I'm reaching for my toes. Just for a breath or three, I can have my hands on my blocks. But we already did this posture, so I won't hold you here long. I'm going to take you for one last stretch. Now listen, guys, I wish we had a little bit more time, but we got time for another stretch of choice. Now, we're not going to do bridges today. We're going to do a heavy bridge class coming up here, but maybe a stretch. If you want to do a restorative bridge, you can put your block under your butt. If you feel like you need that last hip opener that everyone loves, you could do right ankle on top left knee, thread the needle. Or you could do a last twist if you'd like. So there's a couple options from me. You're more than welcome to do restorative fish or put your legs up the wall. Those are a good 5 or 6 options. Pick one here. What is your body calling for? Does it need a big core twist, a hip stretch, a little kind of pressure point in the lower back, the sacrum? Or do your legs ache? You want to throw them up the wall? Just either way, nice deep breathing for our final pose. Close your eyes. Enjoy that last position. Maybe do your second side if you're ready. All right, yogis. So actually, we got about 6:30 on the dot already. So traditionally in yoga, you take a posture or two to kind of unwind. It's kind of like any posture we didn't do that you wish we did, or something you kind of got some insight. Oh man, my calf was tight all practice, or my right side. You do maybe a little extra last look there. Uh, just personal, intuitive approach. Okay. And then after you finish up that last kind of personal moment, you would close with a meditation. Tonight, we started with seated breathing. And I mentioned this idea when I work with people personally. The main thing I try to teach them on the physical level is nasal breathing. I want their mouth closed, lips sealed. I also want the tongue to pull up against the top of the mouth. Look what that does. Watch my chin. Look, first I'm going to have my tongue sit low in my mouth, and then I'm going to put the tongue on top of my mouth. Watch. You see that? The tongue up, so key for keeping all these muscles strong. What happens if the tongue drops? The jaw starts to drop too. So we come like this. What does that do? Oh, it's all fascial matrix. It pulls down here. It all starts with the tongue, yogis, okay? And nasal breathing also has tons of different effects on our hormones, on our sleep. So if we can learn to breathe throughout our day in the nose, we're going to do it in our sleep as well. Anytime I'm exercising, unless I get really out of breath, it's a different story. But I do try to breathe in and out the nose. So I really want you to, if you take one thing home, with you. Today I did my meditation practice, half an hour, and I sat and I went into this big trance, just breathing in out the nose. Okay, that was my meditation practice. Went to a little bit of visualization. But that's one thing I really want to hammer home tonight. Nasal breathing, yogis, as much as you can. No more mouth breathing. Your tongue should take up the whole cavity of your mouth with your lips sealed. And you can exaggerate it a little bit too. Initially, you can squeeze your teeth very lightly. Don't push your teeth together hard though, okay? This part up, not down like this. See that? See my jawline goes away? I want it up. Okay? All right, guys. Well, I do have a 7 o'clock private client that I do have to make my way to Redondo for. Can you do a couple minutes meditation on your own for me this evening? That would be great. So thank you guys for coming for gentle yoga. I wanted to try to mix in a little bit more gentle yoga during the week here on Zoom. So thank you guys. Namaste.